Hello everybody, and let's exit to port. It is currently 13:40 on the 24th of April 2023. The sun is shining, and as I noted last night before I went to bed at roughly 1 in the morning, the sun is almost shining. So that means I'm heading into a period of time where my body will be very confused but happy, which also, oddly enough, describes my co-host as always, Mr. Grumps the Dwarf. How you doing, Grumps?
Hello, I'm doing wonderful, thank you.
See, I've started doing more of these weird intros, and I like, we have plenty of work to do there. We never know where we're gonna go with these intros until I actually do them. I say we, it's me. I'm the one doing the ad lib on this. And so far, I don't think we've ever edited a single one of these intros. So this is going to be fun. But yeah, how are we doing today, Grumbles?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. Yeah. Feeling pretty chill, pretty relaxed. It's nice. It's good. We tried to switch it up and do this during the day instead of waiting to the point where, at least me, I'm usually falling asleep by the time we get there, and then I wake up. And then I can't sleep all night because I've suddenly woke up late in the day. So we'll see how this goes. I might just go for a nap afterwards.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Honestly, we should start doing more of this earlier on, and potentially we could, because a tiny bit more about that later. But I am now a part-time student, so more time to take care of myself, and one of the ways I take care of myself is by doing this podcast. It's gonna sound weird to those who don't understand, but for those who know, And for those who do not know, there's a new map in World of Warships.
There is,
and it's called Seychelles, and it's beautiful.
It is.
It is also very similar to any other map that has made it out recently, I feel. With the exception of the Faroe Islands ones, isn't it?
Oh yeah, with the odd weird waterfalls.
Yeah, I love that map, but it's very resource heavy on the PC for some strange reason.
Yeah,
but no, Seychelles, we've had it exactly once on Friday.
Yep.
According to stats, this is a tier 5 to tier 9 map. So if you want to see it, you might want to whip out those tiers. What do we think?
First impression, I love it. I always like to see new maps coming in, even if they come with some things that might need adjustment or whatever. And there's always that, I go through that phase, I'm sure a lot of people do, where it's utter confusion. I don't know where I am, what's going on, why am I getting shot at, and whatever, where should I position my ship? But to be honest, that's me in most matches anyway. But I really like it. I like to see that kind of content coming along. I mean, I know it takes a lot of effort and it's more than just the artwork and all the rest of it, but always fun to see something, and I thought it was quite beautiful. Again, we've got looks like, I don't know if there's different like time periods for, or time of day for it or whatever, but we got a lovely, I don't know, the sun looked beautiful on the horizon. I'm not going to go so far as to say if I knew it was sun up or sun down, but anyway, it looked pretty. So yeah, good first impression for me. Very
pretty map, yes indeed. I'm wondering how it's going to play out as people start learning more and more about where they should park and such. But again, this is something that we often, like, we'll probably see a lot of knowledge transfer from other maps that are similar into this is going to be a good position to park, and we'll see.
I liked as well some of the little animations and details, that we've gotten used to now on some of the other maps that have changed over time. It was really nice to see some of that brand new stuff, because I hadn't seen any of the previews or teaser of it or anything. So I was just like, once I'd sunk fairly early, which as I vaguely recollect, I was able to then just scoot about the map and have a little look around, and it was nice. There was little passenger ferries going to like ocean liners and things like that in some of the port areas. kind of cool. I was a little bit sort of sad, but it totally makes sense. But like the fact that the little bay area is closed off, so you can't park a little boat or a submarine in there or something. Actually, that'd be kind of hilarious if a submarine could sink below and go underneath a bridge and into. I'm sure that's not possible, but it'd be kind of funny.
Don't give them any ideas. Chegg, you heard nothing. No, but like, as long as it's an area where once you're in there, you're not in some sort of immortal position or such, then perfectly fine.
It'd be pretty funny. I mean, it's probably like a terrible idea, but I think once it would be pretty funny. Imagine seeing like a Jingles video where somebody went in there with a little submarine and just parked in there and like capped or played out time for the end of the match or something like that and won the battle. I don't know. It's terrible even as I'm talking about it, but I think it'd still be funny to see that once.
What's the map where you can park in one of the ports?
I can't remember. I visualize it, but I'm terrible at remembering the names of the actual maps. But there's one that's like I think it's a 7, 8, 9 kind of thing, tier 6 through 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you've got on either side, right? It's like got those like white hills or something, and then white with some greenery islands in the middle.
Yeah.
And there's that kind of crescent island in the middle of B cap to on the one side of it.
Yeah, and it has a large airfield on it, and yeah. Damn it, I can't remember that. Oh,
I can't remember, but I can remember parking my CV in there once or twice.
I know a couple of DDs that have gone in there and be like, ha, I'm really smart, and then it's like, are you though? Because
actually,
we can shoot in and you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
So.
You can't do much. Yeah, and you're kind of stuck. Yeah, I can actually remember trying. I don't actually recall. I genuinely don't recall if I got my CV in there, if it's big enough for that. But I definitely remember trying. I'll have to give that another go later.
It's like it's one of those things that can draw your attention in the game, and then you kind of forget that. Oh yeah, there's a battle going on behind me.
Yep.
So, but that's fine. That's fine. At least if you were sitting in there with a CV, you wouldn't have to listen to the torppoop.
No. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
What was wrong with the old torp sounds? But more importantly, what's wrong with the person who picked these news?
Can we please have a statement from Wargaming as to why you guys felt it? Oh, it might not be Wargaming. Let's face it, this can be Lesta just going, hey, let's make a new sound. Bloop, 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 bloop. Hey, that's a fun sound. What can we use that for? You know, it could be Lesta doing that, but can we please just have a tiny bit of a statement why the need was felt to change the torpedo sound? Because the new one sounds like you're dropping off the Browns at the Super Bowl.
I've not heard that before.
You haven't?
Kids at the swimming pool.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Oh dear.
Like, I'm trying not to be crude, but it sounds. You know what? I can't. I can't not be crude. It sounds like somebody has the runs and there's explosive forms of evacuation of bowels. It does, and it's not good.
I'd also like to say, for legal reasons, we're not trying to demean Cleveland Browns fans. You enjoy your Super Bowl if you ever get there.
For legal reasons, this is a joke. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just, why? There are some audio changes they've made that are fantastic and make perfect sense. The new crash alarm, it scared me and confused me, but I was like, okay, you know what? This makes more sense. I like this more. The scary ringing of the bells, you know, it's not just some klaxon alarming in your ear the entire time, which really gets annoying.
So here's another thing that you just reminded me of. I've got to chip in with this as well. For some reason, it reset all my sounds to like standard sounds. Oh, yeah. And I actually, a lot of the things you're describing, I haven't really heard yet because my sounds are all over the place. I need to go back and find the right settings and things to actually try and hear some of this detail. Like the new bomb drop sounds, I have no recollection, no recognition of that whatsoever right now. I just I'll have to go and play some CV afterwards just to try and see what it sounds like when you're playing it. But I have, as a player, I haven't really played much CV, so that's probably why. But I don't have any. I couldn't tell you what that sounds like in terms of difference to before.
Yeah, no,
because I've not heard it.
It's not a big difference, but it is enough to, you know, hey, that's a nice one. Kind of like the machine gun one.
That I like. That I've heard. And I like the improved machine gun sounds.
So yeah.
Feels more immersive.
But you said all over the place, so much like your play style. Unlike me, I park at an island and then I get shot at until I die, and then I curse and then I eat chips.
You know what else is all over the place, Tiger?
No.
Matchmaking.
Matchmaking is also all over the place. This is very true. Although, is it really?
Well, I just want to bring up one thing, because I don't want to flog that dead horse again. There you go. I left the pause there because I knew the whip was coming. So, but I want to bring up just one experience I had. There's, you know, and it's going to be one of those it's an anomaly or it's perfectly fine or whatever. I'm not meant to be divisive. But I had an experience where there were 3 tier 10 submarines per team, and each team had a CV.
Oh, Jesus.
And I killed 2 submarines. I was very proud of myself. I can't remember what ship I was playing, but I think it might have been a Yamato. I can't remember. But anyway, and I was very chuffed with myself. I was doing, you know, the best I could. Yeah. And then the 3rd sub just shotgunned me anyway. And it was like, okay, he's right there. Well, I can do nothing about it because I've just fired. You know, and planes and what, you know, I tried my best, but it was like, okay. And the enemy CV also just happened to be a Nakhimov.
Oh, great.
So you got 3 tier 10 subs and a Nakhimov. And then our team had whatever, I think we had a Malta and 3 tier 10 subs or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. You can say what you want and everyone will have their opinions. And I'm not trying to bring up all the old topics but that just felt like not, you know, even in a battleship with my best will and intentions. And I think it was one of those where I'd had like a pretty good game. You know, when you've killed 2 submarines and I don't know if I was on 200k or so, it was a pretty good game. And it was like, cool, this is really in the balance. It's close. We might lose, and then it just felt like, oh, poop. That's where the other sub is. He's right next to me with a load of torpedoes. So, yeah. And then you get Nahimoved anyway. So I just wanted to bring that one up because it's been bugging me. And I know people will empathize. I'm not trying to trigger people, but I don't think that should be a thing in the same way as double CV shouldn't be a thing at any tier and so on and so forth. But I think there's a few little tweaks that need to be looked at, but I didn't appreciate 3 tier 10 subs and a CV per team.
No, I think that's probably one of those moments where it's been like people have been sitting in queue for a while and then you get one of those need to dump them into a game queues kind of game. And don't get me wrong, I'm right here with you I don't want double CVs. I don't want even double subs. I want normal surface ships as much as possible, and then 1 or 2 specials. And by specials I mean a CV or a sub or maybe even a super ship. Who knows? I'm rambling right now. Anyway, but I also get the people in charge of matchmaking, because they need to think about the enjoyment of the game. So, and I know we've all said it, that I would rather sit in queue for a bit longer and get a more balanced matchmaking where I know there's equal amounts of radar, I know there's equal amounts of stuff, but for the more casual and the average player, they probably don't. They want to get in, they want to have their match, they want to get on with it. And yeah, that's kind of where they need to focus their efforts. And I do get that, but I'm still gonna be sitting here and saying, please, no more double CVs, because we had double CVs on Friday during the grumbling, didn't we?
Yeah.
At tier 8.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. A Lexington and a Kaga.
Oh my god. Like me and Grumpy shot down what 72 planes just between us two.
Ridiculous, yeah.
And then you had another 11 or such.
Yeah.
Fuck me sideways. Like, oh my god. What ship was I in? I was in a.
Somebody had Anchorage, I think, and
was it the Montpellier?
I was in the DD. I can't remember.
I don't remember, but it was not a ship that should have had good double A. I'll tell you how much. And there I ended up with a 40 planes killed before even 8 minutes have passed in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of planes.
Yeah. I don't know where you're going with the segue.
Oh, okay. War Thunder simulation. I was going to switch categories.
Well, I have one more thing I need to talk about.
I forgot. My apologies. Yeah. I forgot. I haven't got the list in front of me. Yeah.
You see, this is why the segue confused me. Yeah. But no, this is just a quick mention that 2 fantastic ships in World of Warships are going to get maybe one of the nicest looking camos out there. And I just want to say, Wargaming, please, more of those camos. The Japanese lacquer one is coming to the Kongo and the Yamato. It's already on the Hayate, the Maya, and the Hyuga. And they look fantastic. And we CCs have been allowed to preview the Yamato and Kongo one for a bit. And they, oh my god, they look so good. So, Wargaming, please. But I want to say, while you're at it, make sure that the planes get more. Because I looked at the Yamato plane yesterday. It was just black. Like, it looks cool. But give it the gold trim, you know?
Yeah. It reminds me of the Graf Zeppelin B.
Yeah.
That suffers the same problem, just all black planes. And it's like, come on, a little bit of coloring, a little bit of livery, like
tiny bit on the control surfaces, and maybe along the canopy and such. That's all you need. Like, it's not a whole lot, but it'll make such a big difference. And then the planes will just pop and be like, oh, like you won't see much of it in battle, but when you're looking at it in port, nom. Well worth the money. Like, I want to say, like, that I know that they don't really give a bonus anymore, but oh, it's such a pretty camo. Please go look up Japanese lacquer Yamato. You won't be disappointed. Speaking of not being disappointed, here is the segue over to planes.
No, you're a segue.
No, you're a segue. Almost nailed it. First try.
Yeah.
War Thunder.
Yep.
There is an upcoming event being made and orchestrated, or at least technically orchestrated, by our good friend Mr. Wingling Dragon.
Yes.
And you know a bit more about this.
Yeah, Wing is the design lead for it. It's being sort of steered through Classy Pax's community, and it's intended to be a sort of role-play oriented simulation event. And I just wanted to give them a shout out, give Wing some additional encouragement and help promote the event. We don't know exactly when it's going to be, but within the next 2 to 3 months, I would say, approximately. I think he said that. I think that's safe to mention. And yeah, he's been working real hard in the War Thunder CDK, the program that helps you create all these things and all the testing and reloading it and adjusting the AI. There's going to be AI bombers and AI like torpedo bombers and fighters. Basically, the setup is around the island of Saipan. It's going to be 2 opposing carrier fleets. So there'll be some boat action, there'll be some plane action, there might even be probably ground units here and there looking, or AA, don't know entirely all the detail, but you'll be able to be part of like fighter squadrons defending your fleets, you'll be able to be attack squadrons, torpedo and dive bombing, with US and Japanese forces respectively. Don't know the distribution, don't know everyone's going to be in it and all the rest of it, but just super excited, and I think it's going to be a ton of work, and I'm sure it's going to pay off. I'm sure the cinematics of that and video creations and things will be off the charts. I don't know if I'll be in it. I just want to help promote it, and I'm going to have a look later on today in War Thunder and see if I can load it up and just see what cinematically what it looks like already, and maybe get a few screenshots or whatever, and just help maybe do a little teaser for it. It's I get super into these things. They're super immersive, and it's just really great to see how a community can come together and just create something that is like way beyond what just the game itself can offer. You know, I love that. So speaks to the role player in me, I guess. Like, yeah, so just keep your eyes and ears open.
I've been watching Wing sit and work on this and do a bit of test flights in it with everything from modern jets to World War II planes and so on, and it looks amazing. I think it's going to be a really cool event. And knowing how they run their sim events and knowing a bit about Classic Pax's style, this could be potentially really big. This is potentially one of those, ooh, okay, I didn't know War Thunder had this as an option. Okay, you know, it might light that sort of fire. And I mean, it's a big kudos to Wing, who knows how to use the CDK and really sits down with that, and it's just really fun to watch him work in the CDK and learning about it. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, it's weird. Whatever he does, like, whenever I watch him, I'm like, I want to do this. Why does this man make me want to do these things? That sounds very wrong, but you know what I mean.
I'm not going to say anything because I'll just let the comments fill up with "that's what she said" comments.
Yeah. There's going to be plenty of fan fiction written about this. Yeah, and can I just say very quickly, no, Stats Bloke, I will not be reading Paints or fan fiction in ASMR. You can tell your community that.
I heard that say something. I tuned in the other day. He was doing some sort of community eating mayonnaise or something, or about to.
No, he was fisting a jar of mayonnaise.
Well, I was going to say, he just said a phrase, and I kind of laughed because I thought, oh my God, imagine that as a soundbite. And then I had to switch it off because I was like, I don't know. It was just nothing wrong with it, but it was just beyond where I was mentally prepared to hang out at that point in time. So love you to bit, Stats, but at the point where you start saying phrases like that, I'm not even going to say it here because it'll turn into a soundbite, be used against me. But I caught that and I was like, oh God, okay. All right, have fun. I'll catch you another time. So nothing bad. It was just mentally I wasn't prepared for that, and I was like, okay, I've got to step away now.
Yeah, no. Here's a bit of a secret about Stats. He is a tiny bit naughty because he is fully aware about all of these things, but he chooses to use the language in such a way that it sounds a tiny bit naughty, but it's still innocent. You know his logo? Yeah, it's a chart, right? Yeah. But it's also a middle finger.
Yeah, I didn't even have to look it up. I realized as soon as you started saying it, I was like, oh no, is this chart actually a middle finger?
Yep. Yeah. So I'm sorry, Stats. I'm letting the cat out of the bag. You're a bit of a naughty man, and I'm here for it, honestly.
Tut.
It's a different way of saying down with the bourgeois. or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a whale biologist. Speaking of whale biologists, how go things in casual ecological disaster? I mean, Subnautica.
That was a very good segue.
You're welcome.
My goodness, what a game. Just, won't surprise most people because it's been around for 5 years, but I've finally gotten around to it after much badgering and commitments and things, and I'm so glad I have. It's incredible. It's got some silly jump scares in it that could do with not being there.
Well, I mean, they're not necessarily jump scares, are they?
No, well, it's got two elements to it in terms of fear factor. It's got the constant, and I mean constant, even before you fire it up and you're about to go into it, the whole tension that you create in your mind and body around, I don't know, being chewed up and swallowed and whatever. And then on top of that, it's got a few jump scares. I don't mind occasional. I don't do well with jump scares, but occasional one, and there haven't been that many, so I've been kind of grateful for that. But the other aspect of like the constant tension is really kind of cool in that how they've managed to achieve that with pixels, and it's not the most harrowing looking thing. It's not gore and blood everywhere or anything like that, but it's just that fear of the unknown, what's behind you, kind of.
It's the suspense and what's in the deep down dark.
Yeah.
But no, there's no real jump scares in the game, honestly. There might be times that something happens and then you feel like it's a jump, but it's never intentional as a jump scare. Because if you just keep your wits about you, you'll see them coming and it won't be a jump scare, but it's hard to do in that game.
Yeah.
It is almost impossible, I will say.
There's a lot of things to distract, and but the game, the pace of the game, the story progression, the way they've done it and implemented it with, the use of radio signals every once in a while, and that coupled with the fact that the more you explore and sort of put your brave pants on, as I call it, the better off you are and the more you can kind of get through things and get the advancements, and the tech is really cool. Nothing comes too late or too soon or feels too powerful because it's still, you're still at the mercy of this alien ocean planet. And you go from that kind of like, oh dear, this is all a bit hopeless and we've kind of got nothing, to the feeling of, oh yeah, we can get through this, things are progressing, to then the kind of somewhat resignation, but not in a super negative way of like, well, we're kind of just gonna have to live here. And like, I'm in my 7th session now, or the next one will be the 8th session, and I've reached that point of like, but you know what, it's not all bad. There's food, there's water, you can make a garden, you've got a nice little base going on, we've got lots of cool tech and ships to drive around and stuff, and it's, I don't know. I just think it's way better than I expected. Not that I was expecting it to be bad, but I thought I was more worried about, it being terrifying than recognizing how good the game might be underneath that. And the glorious result for me is that it's actually a really, really good and enjoyable gaming experience. So, and people love it.
So, the other day you were playing, you were out in your sea moth, and you bumped into an electrical eel. You then went back, all the while cursing the electrical eel, thinking it was an electrical eel. And I have to ask you, Grumbles, have you learned what the thing actually was? Because it wasn't. You haven't learned.
No.
Okay, then I'm gonna sit still and shut up.
Okay.
But I know I told you in chat that was not an electrical eel.
Right.
And that, yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So
I just assumed it was an electrical eel.
Yeah, because you weren't paying attention to that was only one bump that brought you down to 50% on the Seamoth. It wasn't several small ones.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I see. Great.
Yeah. So I I'm really trying to help you make your life more easy to live and not spoil anything.
Mm-hmm. But that's all right.
Yep.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah. No. Because I'm sitting there in full fear and terror. I should probably walk away from the streams. Honestly, like, this is on me. I will fully admit that. I have thalassophobia, and it's kicking in something fierce sometimes. And I just kind of want to go and say to people, hey, so, you know, down there where you are at the moment, yeah, so there's this thing here that you should probably look out for. It looks like this.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, there's a certain case of ignorance is bliss in that game. And if anybody ever plays, you'll know full well what I mean when I say that. It's it is one of those things. And yeah, for those watching on YouTube or looking along on the topics, you'll see that it says casual ecological disaster, and there's no way of avoiding that. Once you're in a vehicle, you're gonna hear meaty thuds all over the place, and just know you have rammed a ton of tiny fish, and that's okay. It'll happen. Don't worry about it.
Yep. So, I've been doing a lot of good work, I feel, for population control.
Yeah.
Like
The amount of times you've been zooming along and you hear and then it's just it doesn't faze me anymore. You see the kind of faces, whatever. But
I think
early on,
I apologize every single time. I think a lot of my dialogue is around, sorry, because I genuinely don't want to hear them, but a lot of the time you can't hear them. The worst one was the silly cuttlefish. Cuttlefish came along and I was like, oh, hang on, I forgot something. Turn around to go back, and the cuttlefish slammed into the side quest too. And I was like, what? You're supposed to be smarter than me. What? You didn't predict me doing a dead stop and going back because I forgot something? Quite funny.
Did you forget to make it not follow you?
No, I think that was the point where it was already on not follow. I was just near base, so I was just starting out, and then I turned around to go back and get something, and the cuttlefish was just swimming in that area, and it's like smack. Oh, so never mind. Another windshield disaster.
Yeah, that's another one of those things where if you release it, you can't pick it up and put it back in the containment. So yeah, and there are, like, you have 2 right now.
I've got 2. Yeah, I call them the Cuddle Brothers.
Yeah. So there's 4 in total.
Oh.
And it won't break story. It won't be anything like you won't get an achievement or anything. There's 4 in total.
Okay.
So you might find 2 more, but like they're super.
Well, at least I can afford to lose one now.
Well, can you though? Will your community support you if you do?
I don't know. My part of my mission will be to get the Cuddle Brothers, as many as we find. We'll get them, and we'll get them on our escape ship, and we'll take them with us.
Oh God, if we could do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be glorious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
have a nice aquarium or a nice isolation tank for them to live in.
You might need to have them in your inventory as you're flying off.
Oh, man. Hey, so here's a thought. What if I could put one in a time capsule?
Oh my God.
Cuddles from Grumbles. Good luck.
Oh, that would be amazing. Also kind of scary. Poor cuttlefish. But yeah,
I'm assuming it's in stasis and doesn't know that it's stuck in a time capsule for like a decade.
Yeah, and out in space. Only your trash collecting partner can hear you scream. Because that's where we're at now, aren't we? We're continuing the thought of being a couple of trash collectors in Star Citizen.
Yeah, I like this idea.
Yeah. So why has this popped up again? Oh, pray tell.
Well, Star Citizen, because basically I blame Chegg mostly.
I thought you would.
So there's a funny little anecdote in regards to how I bumped into the opportunity to give Star Citizen a go for free. Because I was chatting with Wing about this upcoming SIMRP event, he's like, well, we're running that through Classy's thing, so you'll need to jump on that Discord to get all the details. I jumped on that Discord and did the usual, spent a few minutes trying to just mute up a lot of the stuff because there's just too many Discords. It's nothing specific to Classy's, but I just, I got Discords coming out of my eyeballs. So I did all of that, and then one of the channels I left open was, I think it's like game ideas or something like that, or game news kind of thing. And saw a couple of little updates about this and that, and this game's on sale and whatever, and thought nothing of it. And then somewhere along after a few days after joining, randomly, there was just a ping in there. It was just text, no link or anything. One of the people on there had just said, Star Citizen is free to play, not to keep, until the 20th of April. And I was like, whoa. And so just the chance of having to spot that at that time. So I thought, oh, well, let's give this a go then for free. So I did so, played it on my days off last week, and I was just immediately drawn into it. It's because it's got some indescribable magical something that just entices me, and I'm sure a lot of other people. Not talking about all the development and all the money and will it ever be finished and like that. And Chegg and I were talking about it on Friday together in a call about some bits and bobs as I was sort of considering whether to buy in and getting some final thoughts and ideas together. And he just jokingly said, it might not even finish in our lifetimes. And we kind of had a chuckle and thought, yeah, maybe. Who knows? That's quite possible. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter from my point of view, because the impression I got from playing for those 3 days where I made like 4 videos over the 4 days, and of just my first impressions, it's just, the potential is like off the charts. The way that world is created, the way you can effectively go and do anything you want, and then there's no hand holding at all. So you're kind of like, you can just crash your ship on the way out. You cannot find your ship. You cannot find out how to get water from somewhere and hydrate yourself, or it's all possible. There's a wonderful community of really enthusiastic people who are, everything from like the really mechanical and technically oriented to the role play and what I call silliness oriented and everything in between. And vast majority have just been like super welcoming. And I mean, I said vast majority, everybody except one person who has decided to be just not rude, but just like pointing out things that are like completely, like you just haven't understood what I'm interested in, what I'm enjoying doing and the purpose of the video, but you get that as well. Just made me laugh. But everything else has just been like, welcome to the verse. Here's a couple of like hints and tips for this and that, not like a backseating way, but like, oh, this confuses everyone when they start, press this, do that kind of thing, to work around the problem. But like in response to like my questions and comments in the video, rather than, oh, you noob, you nub, do this kind of thing. And it was just really, really nice and welcoming. And goodness me, I can't talk about this topic without bringing this up either. The other day we were going to play Subnautica, I think it was on Saturday, and I mentioned, because I've been doing the releasing the videos through the week, and I just mentioned, or it might have been on Thursday, one of those anyway, I just mentioned Star Citizen in my introductory ramble warming up stream. And we lost, that's the wrong word, but 40 minutes disappeared down a grab well. And to the point where some people were like, are we going to play Subnautica today? And I was like, all right, I'll get to it when I'm good and ready. Apologies. But I could have been just chatting for a good 30 minutes at least. But like, again, mostly positive. There's a few people that are like obviously burned by it, or like wanting it to be, why isn't it perfect or finished or whatever. But the vast majority being like, uh-oh, he's gone, we've lost him. There's just something, I'm just, even now, just talking about it, big smile, just super excited. And that's why we called it in the text for the podcast, something exciting is about to happen, in brackets, soon TM. Don't know, might never finish. But there's something when you see other players, like even randomly just walking past you in that world, and you're walking around and you can literally just go and choose to do anything, go anywhere, land on a moon, do some mining, do some exploring, do combat missions, bounty hunting, space truckers, garbage collectors. There's salvaging missions. There's special ships designed for mining and salvaging. You can do solo stuff. You can do multi-crew stuff. You can accidentally step out of your ship without meaning to and fall kind of to your death and through, actually probably still going now because I fell through a gas giant, so there was nowhere to stop. Yeah, everything is possible. So watch out for the cinematic delight movie called Falling. Obviously only a joke, but yeah, and of course it's got all the magical stuff as well, like beautiful design and art, amazing ships and stuff, and great sort of camera angles, and a great engine that lets you kind of not go anywhere, but like really move around a lot, choose different angles. And then you've got all the other stuff that you would experience, great sunrises and sunsets, or being out in the vastness of space and asteroid belts, and you name it. It's I'm looking forward to just so much shenanigans. I know there's loads of bugs and there's some lag, and I've seen some of that already, so I'm not going into it thinking it's all wonderful hunky-dory, but none of that matters to me. It's and Chegg, I have to say a special word of thanks to just Chegg, because not only has he helped me with the guidance and sent me lots of links and stuff, and been very excited and giggly about me playing it, as have some others, but also he gifted me a ship, which has it's not like too big and too advanced, so it's not like skipping me ahead in any or whatever in any sort of sense like that, but it's the reason he gave it to me is because it's got an onboard coffee machine. And I think it's the only one, or one of the only, I think there's only a couple that have got a working coffee machine on board the ship. So he gifted me this beautiful little ship called the 300i that's got a coffee maker in it.
Gotta have the coffee maker.
Yeah, and it's got a bed, so we did the whole thing of like taking off and then going into space and then just going to sleep on your bed, and people will be like, oh, don't do that, it could be buggy and everything, and I know that, but it's worked for me fine. Yeah, and when honestly logging into a game and waking up and you're just somewhere in space and maybe you don't even remember where you parked kind of thing, and you're just adrift and there's a space station over there and a gas giant and a sun, and there's pirates, there's other players, it's all PvP as well, so you're not in the game anymore once you've logged out. There's like a few minutes and then everything phases out, but even so, you can log back in and someone could just be like, oh, there's a ship that's just there, let's go and attack it or steal it or something. And
hello.
Yeah, exactly. So it just feels really, really great, and hopefully we can get a little crew together.
I've been
hopefully
watching.
You and I can do our space junk hauler, garbage man, whatever.
What the fuck you mean there's trash over there? We were just over there.
Exactly. So I think there's so much potential, and
so like potential, like you say that, and
yeah.
and you've listed so many things, but I want to give a couple of really good examples that I know of, where Genticles, fantastic streamer, she's wonderful and just all over the place. She plays Star Citizen, and people were like, oh, you're gonna go raiding or mining and stuff. Nope. What are you doing then? No, I'm just gonna float around this large station and look for dead people and ships so I can loot them and sell the loot. and that's all she did, talking to her chat and kind of just slowly using her suit to go around there, like not even in the ship. She just literally walked out an airlock and started drifting around the station and started stealing weapons. Well, reappropriating weapons so he could sell that and get credits. And she did, and that was fantastic for her. And people were like, oh, aren't you going to do anything more exciting? I was like, no, this is what I want to do, and she did that.
Yep.
And then another one I know of that I've seen on TikTok and Instagram and a few other places like YouTube Shorts is a group. I think I've mentioned this before. A group of combat medics that have made it their vow to help out people who are getting pirated and and locked down by other PvP players, maybe griefed or such, where to the point that, okay, so they can't go do their mission. And then this group of medics comes in full combat gear and everything and just kind of jumps in, secures and helps the people in trouble and extracts them and gets out of there while laying down cover fire and everything. It was glorious to watch because they want to do that. And I was like, yeah, I can get down with this. This is noble. I like this. So yeah, no, Star Citizen. They just need to get to a more finished product, and then people will mass to it, I think. But they're gonna have some big things on their hands to get this properly done. And there are other people making competitors now, so we'll see. Like, hopefully they're able to get through this while the bubble is still up and running, and not as in the sci-fi want bubble, because it could end up being oversaturated. I don't know. We'll see. We'll just have to keep our wonderful eyes on it. And another thing that people should keep their wonderful eyes on is content creators. See, that's how you do a segue, Grumble.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that one. That one was a bit of a spacewalk, but you got there.
Yeah, content creation and streaming. In the world of content creation and streaming, there's a lot going on. We mentioned last time that the CEO of Twitch was quitting, so we're getting somebody new, and we already have somebody new. And they have already voiced their opinions, not necessarily strongly, but their ideas of what they want to do with the platform. And one thing I want to say right off the bat, seeing a CEO come into a place, looking at the current state and going, yeah, this needs to change, that makes me happy. Because that means there's a CEO that has more of an idea of, okay, we both need the money, but we also need to make it more viable for our viewers to be here. He has talked a bit about the role or the experiment that they're running right now, that he himself has been looking at, because he did an interview with somebody, was the discovery mode, as he called it. And discovery mode is when you're looking to get to know a new channel. You don't want pre-rolls. And he said it. He said it straightforward, that when he was out and about looking for new channels to get to know, the pre-rolls, it ruined it for him. And that makes me happy to hear that, because that means we have somebody at the very top of Twitch kind of going, you know what, we need to change this. We need to make it better. What's your thought on his approach?
Yeah, so the impression I got, I need to go back and rewatch the interview in its entirety, but from the snippets that I've seen, the impression I got was there's somebody who is actively engaged, not at all afraid to express their opinion, even if it might be somewhat controversial or whatever. In this case, the controversy would be more about like not just taking whatever advertisers want and doing it. And yeah, switched on enough and in tune with like the feedback and what's going on. So I think you've got to come in and make put your stamp on things. That's just the usual way of things in these kind of top positions that change. But again, somebody that knows the ins and outs of it and understands the business and understands it as a viewer themselves. So it gave me a good like morale boost. And the impression that I've taken from it so far is, okay, we can do some good stuff here. Let's see where it goes. Obviously, the proof is always in the pudding, so we'll have to see if they live up to and what ideas they come up with. It might be that they try and implement some things, and the it gets worse before it gets better, kind of thing. You never know, but I'm encouraged. The recent changes, which we'll talk about in a little bit further on in this segment, have been encouraging as well. So if he must have been part of that because he was part of the decision chain prior to the change to the new role anyway. So I have to, and I think it's reasonable to assume that he was part of that. And since I've seen progression and improvement in recent design implementations and adaptations that Twitch have brought to their service and functionality, I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes next.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some good ideas from this guy, and like you say, he's probably been doing stuff in the background for a bit now, and yeah, it's good. It's good to see that it feels like he wants to follow through on it. It doesn't feel just like, oh, this is just meaningless chatter to rile up the people on the platform making us money, or making us money. Dude, it's a symbiotic relationship. Let's be fair. Without the platform, streamers wouldn't be able to stream, and without the streamers, they wouldn't be able to show the ads to the people. But yeah, there was a bit of a question not long ago on my channel regarding Twitch, and a bit of a comment about how I do things. And I think I wanted to talk a tiny bit about that right now before we touch on a few other things, because I've just come off a very intense period of both streaming and life in general. So at the start of April, and now during Easter, I had the charity week, of course, which was amazing. I've just received the Sum Up diploma from the charity people, saying we collected 72,636 Norwegian to the Norwegian Cancer Society, and as I've been very clear with, 6% will be going to the people that has the servers and has developed this service, and they very clearly state that it's a percentage of the amount, and that is now as of right now 4,721, meaning the Norwegian Cancer Society will get 67,914. That's still a fair chunk, and considering the fact that they helped me at 23:40 on a Friday evening just before Easter to fix something, 6% is fine. I'm okay with that 6%. But that's only if it goes to a professional organization. If you do this as a private person, I think you don't have to pay a fee, or a fee doesn't get deducted unless you hit over 50,000 or something. So, but beside the point. So that's going to be paid out now. And during that time, I very intense amount of planning about what kind of content to deliver, who do I need to contact, how do I focus stuff in order to keep my numbers up, and so on and so forth. And that's something that, regardless of charities, a lot of content creators will be worried about and thinking about the entire time. like, how do you make it on Twitch? And I want to go out there and say, the vast majority, and we're talking the vast majority of streamers, will not get partner. And even so, partner is not a mark for success, and will take a lot of focused time and content creation to fully make it and be independent and not have to rely on sponsorships, not have to rely on, well, you kind of rely on the kindness of strangers, but it takes a lot. And as such, gaming for me has changed. Because I'm still in that, what do I play in order to make my viewers interested? But I'm slowly changing out of that. And that's hard. That turn away from being full-time content creator and wanting to make it, that one's hard. I'll fully admit that. Because this is still weighing on my shoulders, in my head. I have wanted to do this as a full-time job for so long. But I'm effectively now doing what a lot of writers, professional writers do, which is called kill your darlings. Where one of the main ideas that you can't seem to get through is it's time to just kill it off and let it be. And that's where I'm at right now. So I'm turning away from trying to make it on Twitch and instead just playing whatever. And I'll be honest, that switch is hard. But for anyone who wants to stream, just be you. Don't worry about the numbers, please. Or you'll end up as a burnt out Northern Norwegian man with borderline diabetes and working hard to get your ADHD medication. Oddly specific, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is my plea to anyone who wants to jump into the content creation. Do it for the fun of it. Don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the fame. Don't overdo it. Leave that to the professionals, so to speak.
Yep.
Because otherwise you'll be sitting here and being worried about the stuff like ad incentives, you know, and how to fulfill that. Because the old ad incentives were not very good for the mind of the streamer. Talk us through why, Grubbles.
Well, basically, they had you chasing the dangling carrot the whole time, without ever really understanding or having a confident view of where you were and whether that carrot was even going to be there or not. It was like, chase the dangling thing on the end of this pole, but it may or may not be the delicious carrot you're expecting. And then they made it increasingly hard to understand and or achieve. So it made you, I think the old way of doing the ad incentive was very much conducive to or triggering of a feeling of failure or and all the stresses that go with that, like must make this thing, must achieve almost impossible to reach target and stuff like that. And then the results as well, because there was so much variation. Even the result was, it was like chasing loot boxes, I suppose, in a roundabout way, because you might like what you got out of the loot box at the end. You'd be like, yeah, but oh, finally, I'm exhausted, but I got it. Look what's in the box, and then you'd open the box and be like, oh, a half-eaten croissant.
Croissant.
To be fair, a half-eaten croissant isn't bad, but you know, insert your own meme here. But yeah, that's what I didn't like about that. And which it does tie well into that previous point that you spoke to. I guess a part of it was it took away some of the fun of streaming, because it was too much focus and in the back of your mind constantly, whether you were thinking of it or not, there was this whole, am I getting the numbers necessary? Am I where am I in any of this? Will it even be worth all the effort and strain? And if you're exhausted or not feeling well, but you're like, because we've had other friends that have been like, well, I can't stream because I'm ill or mentally I'm not there or whatever, but I've got to. If I don't stream, I won't hit that target. If I don't hit that target, I can't go shopping next week. And when people are living close to the line like that, so yeah.
And that's too intense. Twitch doesn't. I can't for the life of me think that Twitch would want their creators to live like that. Like, live with that Damocles sword above their head, which constantly either drives them to stream in a certain way and hit certain goals without enjoying their content, like they're just pushing it out, or that it would be, for lack of a better word, detrimental in the way of, okay, so now we're just gonna run 8 minutes of ads because we have to, kind of thing, and that's gonna drive our viewers. Like, I don't think that Twitch wanted that to be that way. They had the idea of the incentive is great, but they were missing some things on being able to follow through and actually make it fully viable.
I think, because I think the 2 points are quite heavily linked in many ways. I think, and it wasn't clear to me when I got into it, albeit as I got into it as a bit of a hobby, with the same sort of mission and original idea and same goal that I'm still following, which was just to make people smile and have some fun. But I didn't stop and look at what is Twitch? What are we doing here? When I first got into it, and since going full time last year and now into my second year, I see it and understand it very differently from how it was. Not to say I understand it correctly, but I have my own different experience and interpretation and understanding of it. You're essentially running your own sort of small business or one person business or whatever, and you are given a lot of tools and information, and then you've got to work out what to do with all of those tools and information. And not to repeat all the points you made before, but I think the vast majority of people don't really look at it like that, because it seems all shiny and professional and and sort of, oh, look at this major internet service and all the rest of it. It is, but you don't understand that when you plug yourself in, you're just this tiny little pin that goes into this big pinata or whatever, this big system, and you're on your own, and then you start to build up a community and everything, and you form different bonds with people and have a different experience through time, but it never changes from the fact that essentially you're there and you're in the entertainment business, and and you're there to be entertaining. That's why it exists, and that's what you're there to do, so to speak. However you think about it, whatever words you want to put around it, that's what you're basically there to do. And I think one of the biggest realizations and sort of changes that I've gone through in my relationship with it and understanding of it is recognizing that and taking that more seriously and thinking, okay, well, this is about, as you said, it's about having fun and being entertaining. And one of the hardest aspects of that is that everybody's different, and a lot of people will agree and come along and be entertained and enjoy it, and some people won't. And they can express that in different ways. The good way is they just won't be there. They'll be somewhere else. Good in the sense that it's not conflict, but not so good because the psychological impact is people aren't there. So for the streamer, it's still like, why am I not entertaining enough? You know, are you not entertained to misuse the gladiator expression? But it's not really misusing it. It's exactly that. You know, are you not entertained? So, and then you have to recognize psychologically that you're dealing with rejection and how you handle rejection. And I think I see a lot of streamers that don't cope very well with that at all. And I think, you know, it's quite common in life in general, right? But you're putting yourself out there for the world, and then the world is judging that and deciding if they like it or not, or how much they like it, and how they want to express their reaction to that. And even that simple thing of zeros and ones, they're there or they're not there, can be really, can feel very hurtful, even though that's not the intent. And it's everybody's right. But as the broadcaster, you feel you're exposed to that, and it can hurt a lot of the time. So I think, I know we're on the improved ad incentive, but I still see that they're so intrinsically interlinked. I think one of the things I would draw people to, and I think it only went out yesterday, or I think I might have even only seen it early this morning, but I was quite surprised, but not surprised, is Co Carnage put out a video on YouTube. Really, if you're in content creation in any way, or you're just a viewer or moderator or something like that, and you just want to be informed, it's really worth watching that video and listening carefully and thinking. So Co is somebody that we look up to and would say, you know, that guy's made it.
Yeah.
To use your phrasing there, right? So Co has decided, after long deliberation, to create and operate a second channel, because Co, we talk about Co Carnage, can't keep the numbers where it needs to be to keep sponsors happy.
Like, okay, let me quickly just go on Sully Gnome and tell people some of the numbers that Co Carnage is running. Like, this man has been live and playing games every single day. Like, he's just recently started taking time off, but we're talking in the last 3 days, this man has an average viewership of 8,800 people, with his lowest streams peaking, or not even peaking, starting at 960 people. And peaking at 4,700 people. Those are his lowest streams for this week. His highest have been absolutely insane. It has been starting at 1,920 people and that's a sudden hiccup. Peaking at 19,800 and 19,500, and so yeah. Co Carnage, the man who has kind of been the pinnacle of variety streaming that is full time, can't meet numbers. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. So, you know, I think go watch that video. It's really interesting. It gives you a good insight. Think about and be compassionate about even somebody that, again, in air quotes, has made it or whatever and has all the things. How that still the psychology, you don't escape it. It's part of what you're doing here. And you know, it should serve as like a warning, fair warning, but also just a good insight to anybody. I don't think the answer that I would give is you don't ever make it. You've got to treat it as an activity that's, you know, from a financial or whatever point of view, and the numbers, it's a business thing. And one of the hardest things that I've experienced in life and the way I interpret and understand things is it's really hard as a sentient being with emotions and biochemistry and all those other things going on. It's really hard sometimes to deal with business, because business is pure hard logic. Yeah. Like just pure numbers, and it doesn't care. But the world is often warped to make it feel like it cares or that it's a thing. or another sentient organism of some sort, but it's not. That's none of that's true. So it's one of the hardest life lessons that you go through when you suddenly realize the world hits you in the face and says, no, your credit card is rejected, or your whatever your circumstances. And oftentimes there's no logic to it either, because you think, what am I doing wrong? And that's a really horrible trap to fall into too. So have confidence in yourself, but also be realistic and aware. And the most important thing of all, you've got to be having fun as well. It's great to be out there entertaining others, but you've got to have fun yourself, because if you're not, it is nothing but a grind. You are putting yourself through a grinder. I mean, again, not to go on and on about it, but like Ko even said, he does his cozy streams and he's going to run those on his separate channel now, because that will keep the sponsors happy of the mainstay stuff, and it will keep him happy mentally, because he'll be able to play whatever silly game he wants to, or talk about whatever, and do whatever he wants to do. And it's exactly the same guy with the same charming and entertaining style and excellent skills and games and all the rest of it, and really great engagement with his community. He does everything right. He really is like a model citizen for how you'd want to be as an entertainer and see things done. And yet, at certain levels, people are like, no, that's not enough, or that's not what, because again, it's business, and you can see how much pain he's in from it. So have a heart for all the people out there putting their time and energy and their creative soul out on display every single time for you. And again, we have to accept as content creators, there's not always a lot of rhyme and reason and logic to it. People just like a thing or they won't like a thing. And what I've learned to focus on is indeed just having fun. And that switch, when I started off just doing exclusively WoWs, that has a very loyal following, and then switching because I didn't want to just do WoWs. I wanted to play whatever and just have fun and put smiles on faces. Yeah. That transition period was very difficult. But luckily I made it through, thanks to my hard work and effort at it and focusing on having fun. And of course the community, resonating and picking up on that and being there. So there isn't a magic answer other than go with what's fun. And again, you have to be realistic. If you're having fun and everyone else isn't, then you need to do something else. Not doesn't mean leave the platform or whatever, but it just means you need to think of other things that could be fun that you could share with people, or you need to just be prepared to grind it out and wait. There's no magic bullet or answer.
If you are having fun, which is something that Dominica said to me, because I recently, like, after the end of the charity week marked also the start of the third age of my channel. Like I'm not going to focus on only War Thunder and Warships anymore. I'm not a full-time content creator. If I wanted to do that, I should have done that way earlier. Like you said, that shift is hard. However, this third shift for me is now into what I do because I want to, and I have fun. And Dominica said it, that it's noticeable on me that I'm enjoying my own streams way more.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it more enjoyable for the people being there. Like you said, you're an entertainer, and if you are not enjoying what you make, you're not going to be entertaining to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe to some that have some sort of masochistic bone in their body, but no, like it's not fun. So if you want to get into it, like you also mentioned this about rejection. Rejection can come in many different ways. It's not necessarily that you feel it during the stream, that somebody comes in and says, "Oh, you know what? No, I don't like this. I'm gonna leave." Some people might do that, but for most part, rejection as a content creator is going to be that you look at the numbers. And you're going to see, oh, it's plateaued or something's going down, which is why I say to so many new people, don't look at the numbers. Until you're at a point where you want to make this a full-time thing, don't look at the numbers. Do your thing. Enjoy, play, have fun, laugh. If you're not doing those things, do something else.
Yeah.
And as harsh and as rough as it is, if you have a streamer out there or a content creator that you really, really enjoy their stuff, if you hear them say that they are not enjoying their content that they're putting out, this is gonna sound harsh. Please don't be of those people that go, "Oh, I only watch you for this game, so have fun." You know, it's better that you just leave silently and just don't say anything. Leave the streamer to their own devices, or come along with them, because they're still going to be the same person. They're going to play a new game in the same style. I can almost guarantee you it's going to be worth it. It's so weird. I mean, content creation is something I burn for, even though I'm not doing it full time anymore. So it's, yeah. And one of the things that I, at least, enjoyed most when I did this was seeing people come in to my channel and say hello to me while I was doing a different game than the first one they were introduced to me through. Like, so many people stopped by during my World of Warship streams, and then later on seeing them pop by and say hello while I'm playing some role-playing game or Dinkum or whatever it may be. That made my day. Seeing the new and improved highlight in chat saying returning chatter or not only first time chatter is like, hi, welcome back. You know, and you get to pay a tiny bit more attention to that and building that relation and kind of talking about the game and why you enjoy it. And that's a good thing.
Yep,
like,
I agree.
The more I thought about this highlight thing that they've introduced, because first I was like, why? Why do I need to know that somebody's a returning chatter? But then I started thinking about it in this sense. I was like, you know what? Yeah. Up until they start to become a regular, it's nice to know that, yeah, they're a returning chatter from so-and-so, you know? And but the useless one for me now is kind of a raider. Why do I need to know that somebody is a raider? Can you, like, what? Why do we need these highlights? Talk me through them, Grumbles.
So I wholeheartedly agree on the returning chatter thing. I had the same kind of bemused kind of first reaction of like, wait, what? And then I thought, well, okay, let's just experience it and see. And now that I have, I really like it because it basically highlights when somebody who's recently come along as a first chatter returns back. I think it's within 30 days. Don't quote me, look it up. But they come back and they say hello or engage with you again. And I really like that because it gives me the opportunity to recognize that and sort of give it the old, oh, welcome back. Thank you for being here and for choosing to come on in at a second time kind of thing. So I find that really positive. It has a really good sort of little morale boost kind of feel to it. The Raider highlight thing is a bit of a mishmash. It's kind of, I kind of like the concept a bit of like, hi, I came in with the raid kind of thing. The way it highlights and the way I see it, which is in OBS integrated chat, is a little overpowering because it puts all the standard boxes, and I know I can configure it and I can turn this on and off and things like that, so I may have to do that. I kind of like it, although for me it's kind of confusing as well because quite often we've got overlapping communities from people that raid in, and so you're talking to somebody and then a few minutes later you're talking to them and they've got a big box around them saying, you know, chat from a raider. Yeah. And like, hang on a minute, you've been here all morning. Yeah. So they were obviously just lurking or hopping in and out of multiple channels and things, you know? That's a bit odd. So I find the raider one, and because so many people often come in, you know, if 20 people come in on a raid and they've all got this box around them, then your chat suddenly blows up full of all this box stuff. The flip side is you can see who's come in, you can see who's chatting from the ones that have just entered the room. So I don't know. It's a nice recognition that can be a little. I'm not sure how many minutes it persists for or whatever, but it can be a little bit overwhelming or sort of busy up the chat window a bit, and you might miss other highlighted points. I like it for the actual raiding person themselves, because that means that pops out, because you may or may not have recognized them. They may or may not be familiar to you.
Yeah.
So I think that works quite well. So it's probably just one that's a good idea that needs a little bit of fine tuning, is my verdict on that one. But the returning chatter thing, I think I was not sure about it when I read about it, and now I've seen it in action. I think it's a good thing.
I need to introduce you to Chatty.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful program. It needs some of these highlights a bit more, but yeah, it's a very good program for streamers, and it makes it easier to follow chat than through the box, because, well, you can make it more. You can make it your own style, really, but it's a really nice one for that. But yeah, so these highlights, they highlight things and do stuff, and they show you the role of the person coming in.
What I would add to it, although I see what you're doing there,
Yeah,
nice segue, and I've ruined it.
Very smooth.
I would just want to get a last word in, though, about these highlights. Is I would strongly encourage people who are either not regular streamers yet, or who are just starting out, or maybe just coming back after a break, have a look at these, and really don't sleep on these things. Because I think that if you are, say, for example, just starting out, and maybe you're getting your first raid or something, or maybe you're getting, and it doesn't happen that often, or somebody comes in with 3 extra people and it takes you from 3 to 6, or, or somebody, especially the returning chatter. I really want to highlight and emphasize that one. Don't sleep on these. Pay attention to them. And it doesn't mean you're treating them more special than other people that are already there or whatever, but it just gives you that little hint. Okay, somebody's bothered to, not only maybe they came in on a raid the other day or whatever, landed here by accident, I don't know, you engaged with them, or something made them chuckle so they tickled to follow, but it means that they've consciously decided, I'm going to go and click over there and have a look and pop in and say hi, because they're actively chatting. So they've decided to come back and sort of test the water again and see if they like being there and enjoying what you're doing. So I don't sleep on that one. I think that's really important, especially if you're starting out or just coming back.
Definitely. However, it is now time for something different. In the words of Virgin Mary. I don't know. Know your role! I don't know why Virgin Mary would say that, but let's stick with it.
It's one of their best pilots, I hear.
Yeah, there you go. What, Virgin Mary?
I was in Virgin Atlantic. Never mind. It was a bad airline joke.
Okay, because I was thinking Queen Mary, the ship. So I was like, they have captains, not pilots. Like, this is weird. Tell me you're neurodivergent without telling me you're neurodivergent. Anyway, we talked a tiny bit about Vintage Story last time.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk a tiny bit about it now.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a bit about it and why we're talking about it. And Know Your Role is simple. It's the TLS guys are gathering the mods, not moderators. Well, them too, I guess. And fixing them so that they are now ready to go for the, is it 1.18 or 0.18? I can't remember. It's
1.18.
1.18 update, where there's gonna be some roleplay shenanigans again.
Mm-hmm.
It has been tested a few times now. First in 1.17, or no, first in one other, and then in 1.17 where we all had the great fires of Barovia.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're coming back, and it's going to be a complete wipe. So it's a start from scratch. And I was talking to Stats about it the other day, and he was very excited.
Mhm.
And I'm very excited because now I can play and also stream it if I want to. And that feels good.
Mhm.
So, yeah, Vintage Story. It's, I think it's here to stay. It's definitely here to stay.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be one of those possible staples for a lot of role players.
Yep.
Especially with the loss of other things, such as stuff coming out of Grape Shot.
Yes, for sure.
Did anybody
Yeah.
catch the number on that bus?
Brr.
Yeah.
Wow, somebody squashed an entire ocean. Yeah, the 1.18.x. I think they're on .3. Is now. I'm just looking through their dev blog. It's got the actually says 1.18.1 lore update posted on Saturday. So yeah, apparently it comprises of 7 months worth of development work and around 500 individual features, tweaks, and fixes that have been implemented, including some stuff to the story and whatnot, I believe, as well. There's going to be rafts introduced, was one of the big features I'm looking for. And I think one of the big changes is going to be, or is how they generate the worlds. So there's going to be a lot more nuance, granularity, whatever, to how the world is calculated and created. So you won't get these kind of flat valley, massive mountain kind of thing. You're going to get a lot more like rolling hills and things. You'll still have all the other everywhere in between, but there'll be a lot more nuance, and so it'll feel more immersive and less kind of, can be kind of annoying if it go hoppity hop over like a big mountain, or just go all the way around it, that kind of thing. So you can still do that, and there's various settings for it. That's one of the big changes. But yeah, there's tons of other stuff and fixes to boot. But the roleplay community, the way the game was embraced with this kind of trial, it wasn't really a full season. It was intended to be like a let's give this a go kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And we called it Origins, so that people could bring in characters or world lore or whatever they wanted to have in various roleplay settings. And given that the game includes this kind of temporal element to it, I figured I'd just extend that for my own purposes and make that, well, what if these weird temporal anomalies worked in a sort of a time travel-y dimensional kind of way, where people from Barovia in this case could appear anywhere, and this is why they're suddenly Ivan in space in Star Citizen, because he came from Barovia originally, or as a descendant of somebody that did, and they ended up somewhere else and developed different technologies and things. So
you don't know this, but somebody has been living in the tower with in Castle Barovia for a while now.
Awesome.
And he's not quite sure why he's there or how he got there. But yeah, no, he's been living in the tower for a while.
Awesome. Yeah. So so then the intention was just to try and push the limits on that, get as many people on, build as many things, terraform as much as possible, try out all the different recipes. Loads of mods were tried out. A lot of them passed the grade. Some of them had to be taken off because of bugs or incompatibilities with other things. And we learned a heck of a lot and about how to run the server and all that kind of thing. And I'm really, really excited for, I don't know when it will be exactly. The rough idea was in autumn of this year, but I don't know, that could mean many things. A lot of it depends on Atlas and Darkside and when that season happens. And obviously having a nice break after it kind of thing. So, but yeah, for a big old season, I'm very excited. And the game itself is just, remains just super, super fun. It's really chill, even if you just want to play on your own locally. It's or host a session with friends. It's super, super fun. And Yeah, I'm so glad that you and Mari and others, and people like Stats and Specimen, obviously doing a fantastic job and being super creative. I mean, just look at the way people are able to express themselves in that game. Not just the role playing, but the way you can even just be creative and do things with what the game offers. Visually, it's also very immersive, and it's so easy to just slip into character and live in that world. Very, very high on that game and seeing where it goes.
I am definitely looking forward to seeing where they're going with this. But honestly, not something bad wished upon anybody, but let's just let Atlas die, shall we? And I don't think they deserve the attention anymore.
No, I think
it's not for the fact that I don't want Darkside to prosper, because I do, but this is more just the way that the devs of Atlas are behaving. It's just
yeah, we've talked this one to death, but essentially for me, if you ever want to see a prime example of a company or whatever that just hate their own product and want to murder it, just look. You don't need to look any further. I'm sure there's lots of other examples out there for people, but that one's a prime one for me that I've got first-hand experience of. And I agree with you. If you had the multi-server with hundreds and hundreds, 2,000-3,000 people or whatever, multi-server capability, which again, maybe it's doable, but not as seamlessly or whatever. That's its one magic component that keeps it alive, really. Obviously, apart from DSRP as a community, I think we all know realistically that we've taken that thing so much further than it could have ever gone on its own, and now it is, as you said, it's kind of time to let it go off gracefully to the farm and find something else. And I would love it if it was Vintage Story, because I think the product's just so good and so open and so moddable, and whether it can scale that way or how you would do that with multi-servers and whatnot, it's possible, I guess. I mean, it always feels plausible, in that you just RP it. You just say, I'm just hopping. So, what you're doing technically is hopping server, and RP wise, you're just going through a portal in the forest or something. You can easily work that into lore. It's really not difficult. The fact that we managed to get the mumble VoIP working so well, I don't know. I hope, fingers crossed, it'll work out. I think this could be the next great thing. I can only encourage people to keep having a look at it. I know that we've managed to suck a Drax and Mollyberry into it, so they've been drawn in and have been spending some time having a look at it, and they're really enjoying it. So I'm sure there's going to be lots in this. The scope for community overlap, and so many people coming together and sharing an even more creative, good vibe. Collaboration is really off the charts in the way it is with Eco, but this just fills in a couple of the blanks that Eco doesn't have, like the potential for conflict, which is, funnily enough, something I've always said I don't need it, because you should RP way around that, and I still stand by those words. But having seen what you can do in this very fun, relaxed, pixelated PvP situation, it does work quite well, because it's not really, you can't really go around being massively OP. I mean, you could have 10 people who are good with a bow and arrow, but in a proper role-playing scenario with some fair rules and some good behavior, it's just a magical experience. So we'll see where it goes.
Indeed. But one thing that could be cool to see is if people were affected by a temporal storm, and then they turn into an angry, blood-sucking monster that can control these what are they called? The stragglers, the crawlers, the zombies. How about that? How would that be?
That would be interesting.
Cool?
That would be challenging in a different way. It would sound a little bit like Vampire the Masquerade to me. That's what it reminds me of.
Strange.
Nicely done. Yeah. So, yeah, I've wanted to play VTM for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Having seen some really fun, like, live action role play stuff from like Geek and Sundry and Table Story, and it drew me in because of the not only like the general kind of intrigue that kind of world has to offer, something with vampires and things, your Interview with a Vampire movie or that kind of stuff, but the that sort of dark and sinister and there's something in the shadows kind of feeling, but also just because as a role-playing sort of vehicle, it's kind of light on stats and dice rolling. There's plenty of it for those that really love that, but it's not too much to get in the way, and you're well guided typically by the host, and it's really interesting. My most recent experience, because you do realize, kind of go into it intellectually aware of this, but you don't. It hit me differently when the situations arose. That you're kind of playing a monster. I'll put it in like air quotes or whatever. But you feed off people who are your cattle, or in some other form. Could be animals or whatever. And you operate in the darkness, and you have sort of magical or weird powers and capabilities, and it's all about manipulation and survival to an extent, and I was put in a circumstance completely fairly by the GM where my character, Bobby Flawless, a descendant of the Lawless line, he was put in a situation where somebody essentially had been sent by another more powerful vampire to kind of spy on my character, and my character became aware of this during a social, just a quiet dinner with friends and family kind of thing, and we ended up having a conversation with this person privately away from the other onlookers and things, and I was put in that dilemma of this person was lying to me, had been found out, was not willing to divulge or give everything over freely that I wanted. Like, they were carrying a book with some information and stuff, and I was like, well, you're going to give me that book now? And they're like, well, no, I don't want to, based on roles and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I had the key situation of like, well, my character's also hungry, agitated, very protective of this environment that we're in, doesn't like, has a military background, doesn't like what's going on here. So it's kind of like, am I going to feed on this person? Am I going to kill this person outright? Am I going to drink them to death? Am I going to let them go and do nothing? And then mixing in what I would do as a character with some roles and things. And it was really, really challenging because you're like, you don't think of yourself as typically as like the bad guy or the bad person or whatever, but you're essentially a monster living in this world, so it was. In the end, I fed on her and then mesmerized her so she didn't remember the whole interaction, but I didn't kill her because it didn't make sense for the character to do that. No. But he had to sort of resist that urge to an extent as well because of the hunger. So it was really fascinating.
Yeah, no, it is truly strange to step into a role where, by outsiders, you would technically be evil.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not necessarily evil. Your character isn't necessarily evil.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun to see that whole, okay, well, like the interaction in a player's head.
Mm-hmm.
is where that magic kind of goes on. The fun thing about Vampire is it ties into the World of Darkness books.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning hunter, mage, werewolf. And what are the others? There's a few others, I think. And they are fabulous. And meaning you, as a vampire, could stumble on a player from the hunter setting where he is there as a normal human about to hunt you as the vampire.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of strange. But I absolutely love that as an idea. And have you ever seen what happens when people don't have the right when people don't have the right tools to kill a werewolf?
No.
So werewolves and other magical creatures, you often have to have the right tools, like silver and whatnot. However, there's one thing that werewolves also need compared to any other creature out there. They need to breathe. So the only way our I don't remember what he was playing, but he was something big and strong. The only way our player could actually deal with the werewolf that they were trying to kill was choke him out. You know how many turns it takes to choke out a werewolf?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not an easy job.
Jesus, I don't remember, but it took a long time of just counter rolling back and forth with, okay, I'm gonna try to get out of this grapple, and that loosens a tiny bit. Oh, okay, that gives him a tiny bit of air, but oh no, he has no more air, and back and forth, and constitution rolls, and oh my god, no, it took so long, but it's one of the more intense battles I've ever seen. Not much happened, but it's still one of the more intense battles I've ever seen. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So vampire, if you ever get a chance of playing that, do that. Especially if you haven't ever played a D10 system before, because vampire is a D10 system. And it plays a bit differently from a normal D20 system, but it's still a lot of fun. And vampire, much like any other role-playing setting, you'll need somebody who has thought of this world a bit. They have put some active thought into how they want to be, how they want this world to react to you, how they want this world to interact with itself, because you can't have a world that doesn't interact with itself. And that kind of brings me to the next part here with, how do you build a short story? Like most DMs out there will be sitting there and wanting to build a long-term story where you have a main quest line that goes all the way through, and then you have these smaller arches of story and side quests and just some story filler moments and such. But how do you build something shorter? What do you start out with? So how would you do that, Grumbles? Let's say you have, at most, a 10-session thing that you're building for something. Where would you go? Like, what's your initial reaction? Yeah,
so there's two key factors, I think. One is the most obvious one. You make it all about dwarves. Okay, I'm only joking. I think the key for me, which can apply in both, but would be, I would try to boil down like the key objective of whether that's the protagonist or the antagonist typically, I would try to simplify, because I always tend to layer too many things in and do exactly what you described. Think of it more like a big campaign world rather than there's this one mission we want to go on. So I would make it about something more, a simpler kind of goal or objective. And I think the key element for me would be to have a reasonable time pressure. So something that has an underlying pace. Like if you don't achieve this by N time, then there's a consequence. And it could be a big consequence. You know, you could go really dramatic, you know, end of the world, catastrophe, the abyss opens and pours out into the water. Or actually, it'd probably be better to have it more something, you know, simpler.
You don't get paid.
Yeah. Exactly, just something, or and if you wanted to build it into like a series of stories and have it part of a world afterwards, so sort of doing like one or a small number of shot that fits into a bigger world, you just make the consequence unclear. Like you make it clear whether they've succeeded or failed, but you don't make it necessarily clear what became of that.
I just had an idea. So. And this gives me an idea for something longer and bigger I want to build at some point. But the initial thought here was, you have one main story that builds along almost linear. You know, you drive your players forward step by step, and for each junction, almost cutscene like, they get to a place where they're either asked a question, or there's this opportunity of them getting a magic item or such, and then you go off to this side adventure of, yeah, you have now a limited time to do this task. If you do, you will end up with this as a reward. And like, I'm just kind of imagining this as almost any sort of MMORPG setting, where you have a time-based mission or time-gated battle pass item that you want, but you have to solve these tasks within that time, and then at the end of that, you are given that item if you solve it within that time. So, and that almost drives you through the main story, all these tiny moments that could do something for your character. I don't know. This is just a weird idea that popped into my head right there. That it would need some TLC to work out the full details. But yeah, I think I like that idea. But yeah, like you're saying, the average D&D or role playing DM will likely be thinking about way too long term for their group. And I think in this setting, you have to throw out the idea of, oh, everybody knows each other. That's probably one of the first things I would have to work hard on throwing out. And then rather have it be almost a bounty hunter task or similar, where you have a group of ragtag strangers who are tasked with fixing something. Because they get paid to do it.
Yeah.
So, like, there's no idealistic cleric that's being sent out on a mission from his god. No, that's too big plot. That's too big plot. You know, we're talking, all right, here's somebody in between jobs, or sent out on adventure, or they're doing the Rumspring or whatever you want to call it, you know, and then they just happen on trouble, or they end up in a bind because they've bet on something, and yeah, the bet goes awry or they're being baited into something. You know, it's one of those things.
Someone from their past comes calling. Yeah, the bard who had left one too many bar tabs open somewhere. He's got a bounty on there. I've gotten lost in it in the past, and I've stepped back from GMing for a while because I needed that creative breather. And one of the things I got too wrapped up in was the big picture.
Yeah.
Which sounds like, counterintuitive, but I got too obsessed with, does this whole world make sense? Rather than, it's a little bit like if you looked at a Lord of the Rings type thing, that beautiful big world with all of that amazing lore and all these things to the nth degree. But if you zoomed out to the map too often and looked at what was going on in the big world, you'd have missed the fact that the lambus bread got thrown out off the cliff edge by Gollum or something. You'd have missed that detail that made the emotion and engaged everybody and brought you in, and blamed it on Sam or whatever, and you'd have missed that because you'd have been like, well, what's going on in Mordor right now, or what's going on in the other end of the map, like why you don't see the Shire except for right at the extremities of the story, because that would be a distraction. And so I think I've created immersive and super fun and engaging worlds and story arcs together with people, not just all my own doing, but like collaboratively. I have lost myself because I think that for me as a GM, the most fun experience for me is when everybody at the end of the session or whatever, and all through it, but especially at the end, you realize, oh my! So at the beginning, you've got that anticipation and that suspense because everybody's like nervous. What's going to happen today? We've got this big situation that or we're nearing the boss or whatever it is, and then. But the most fun for me is at the end of that session and you look back and everybody has that moment of exhaling collectively and you're like, wow, God, we got through that. That was, that was amazing. However the result was, and everybody talking about what their favorite moment was or what happened. It's like you've just watched a great movie together or something. And when you're off on your own kind of thing, creating the world and setting up the session and what's going on, you can... Because you're at that point typically on your own, you lose sight, or I've lost sight of what should really be the goal, which is at the end of that session. As soon as everybody has that moment together, as soon as the session starts, I'm like, I know exactly, I've got exactly that goal. But then sometimes you start questioning, well, did I bring the right ingredients to make that happen? Is that what's going to unfold tonight, kind of thing? So it's an interesting, it's a tricky one because you want to, that creative sort of authoring part takes over and you want to dabble in all those other things and all that mystery. Why is there a fountain that just has a single drip of blood running down, over that rock over in that corner of the world? Doesn't matter. Don't worry about that. Scribble it down somewhere and go back to how at the end of tonight, as that gambling debt that the Hobbit didn't pay off or the gnome hadn't paid off for 3 months, what does that mean tonight? How's that going to catch them out? Who's coming after them or whatever, whatever the little story is. And more importantly, how, when you listen and engage with your players, what are they going to take from it? What are they going to make out of it?
Like I had a thought of this a bit earlier regarding the setting in Warcraft, where you have humans and orcs in battle forever, but there are places where humans and orcs would live close to each other without there being any sort of significant resource close by. Yeah, and I just have this weird kind of small village near a border in real life a situation going on in my head where people know each other.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen each other. They are used to interacting to each other. They're like, the war doesn't really face them. It doesn't really have an effect on them. So I'm just kind of imagining this human walking up to this orc village and going like, so, yeah, do you have any ostrich cheese? It's like life just goes on. Like, tell that little story. Some party comes rolling through, and they're not used to this human walking up, and the human's like, "Hey, stop," and then he just continues his day. Because to him, he doesn't mind. Like, he doesn't care. Like, for the Horde, for the Alliance, who cares? It's I want my cheese. You know, that's his day.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see more of those stories. You know, like you said, it doesn't all have to be about end of world stuff. It can easily just be, well, I need to be paid, so I'll go do the small tasks you have for me, and be a bounty hunter or whatever, and deliver your bread to this village. I don't, if I get paid, I get paid. If not, the gambling debt is gonna see me have my bones broken. That's great. Yeah.
Well, they're going to reclaim my magical instrument, and I'm not going to be able to play music at the tavern and make money anymore.
Yep, exactly. The magical church organ is gonna be broken. Dilly! Oh god, not yet. So yeah, no, tell the little stories. I think I want to try to do that more. Speaking of little stories, we have some community contributions, as we've opted into calling it now. From Reckless Rat. He has one comment, first and foremost, I want to take up on the last video, where he says, very much enjoy these. Fun and relaxed chatting, so much so that I kept forgetting that this was a recording, and as I felt as though I was in the room. That's high praise. That's very high praise for me with this podcast, and that means a lot. So thank you, Ratty, for that. But he also has a question coming through your Discord.
Yep, indeed.
So what did he ask us?
He wrote, we all have songs or tunes that we love, but there are also those that have a special meaning or connection to us. Do you have any special songs or tunes that you would be willing to talk about and the connection? I appreciate that there may be some or even all that are very private and should remain so. So always conscientious and kind, Reckless Rat. So appreciate that, Ratty. Yeah, I've got loads actually, and I suppose in a way they would be like quite private things, but actually feel like they're quite it's probably useful to express something, but it depends. You want to go first or me?
Yeah, no, I'll jump into the deep end on this one. So there's some songs in my life where they have a very, very deep connection into deep, dark places and so on. And I won't necessarily bring up those, but one of them is Nothing Else Matters. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have some sort of strong emotion towards this song because it's a good ballad and so on. But that one has almost a sacred place in my heart. But it's tied to some pretty emotional periods in my life where there was a lot going on. Yeah, no, it's tied heavily to loss for me. So not gonna go into more detail about that, but there is one song where that has recently started having a lot of big importance for me, and almost to the same degree that my intro tune has, because we for a long time had You Make Me Moo, or You Make Me Move as it's actually called, on the channel, where no matter when I hear it, it's always it's gonna be a good day. This is good. I know I can start my day now, and I really should get back to using that more. But it's like if I'm driving somewhere and that song pops up, it's like, yeah, everything's going to be fine. We're gonna have a good time.
Mhm.
But the most recent song that has started having a lot of meaning for me is a Tom Walker song, where it. Sorry, a bit of a cough there. Where I was like, there's been a lot going on in my life, and with more and more focus on it's okay to not be okay, and kind of being real about that. There was a conversation me and Mari were having where it was like really intense stuff going on about my own head regarding my own self-doubts and my own self-deprecating nature when it comes to how I treat myself with ADHD and everything. And then she sent me this TikTok with Tom Walker before the song was even released. It's called "The Best Is Yet to Come," where the lyrics in it is what really struck me. Let me just quickly look them up here. It's weird when I don't have it in my ear, I don't remember the lyrics. But as soon as it starts playing, it's like, it's that one, of course. And it opens up with the lines, "There's nothing you could tell me that could make me walk away. 'Cause in my eyes you're perfect, and there's nothing I would change. I've seen you on your best days. I've seen you on your worst, my love." And then there's the chorus that has the opening line of, "And I know sometimes it feels just like the world is ending. Those days where nothing seems to go your way. Well, with me, you really don't have to pretend that it's all okay if you're not okay." And it just kind of, when I heard it, there was this flash of events and stuff being thrown in my face, where it's been super important to have both her, but also friends like you, Grumbles, and the community to give me a sense of normality and a sense of, you know what, yeah, this is real life, and it will be fine. And through those moments, like whenever I hear that song, it's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, things might be a bit shit right now, but we've definitely had more shit moments, and we're still here. So hey, let's just go. The best is yet to come, and that means you have something to look forward to. So that one is of special meaning, and of course, "You Make Me Move." Move. I need to start enunciating that, because I unironically I call it "You Make Me Move." I catch myself on that, but no, it's those two songs are probably the biggest ones. But there are so many others out there that really attach to other things, talking everything from funerals to weddings to just core memories. There's one song by a band called Franklin, and the song is called "Bombadilla Life," and that just reminds me of driving home from a summer holiday together with my dad and my brothers. And all I know is I had been violently sick in the car, but I was still smiling super broadly when we arrived at home, and my mom was on the steps saying hello. You know, yeah. So it's weird. It's weird. How about you? What are some of the songs that you could attach?
Well, firstly, great stories. I love that. And this was a great question. I knew it as soon as I saw it, because music's so emotional.
Yeah.
I got a few different answers without picking too many things. So one thing that doesn't need any deep dive on it, and might be somewhat, I don't know if it'll be surprising, but it just is what it is. I actually would just pick an entire album. I guess if I had to pick a song, it would be one. But Metallica's "And Justice for All" just came into my life at a point where I was really struggling with a lot of things, and it opened up my mind to the reality that other people struggle with all those different emotions and feelings of from rage to anxiety to desperation to some kind of inner peace and everything all along the spectrum, and I found that really helpful and inspirational, because I'd never heard like a release, if you will. Yeah. You know, not so much a rage purely in itself, but just a way of expressing it, both rhythmically and musically, as well as through lyrics. I just found it at a point where I needed something, you know, and that just stumbled in. One of those classic kind of when we used to pass cassette tapes around in the school, and of bootlegs of copies of things and things. You know, not that I would ever do anything like that without, you know, license rights to things, but of course, you know, when you're a kid, it doesn't matter. So in those days, it was cassette tapes being passed around in the schoolyard, and so I probably got it too young, shouldn't have been listening to it at that, you know, whatever, but I already had that through my, you know, what you could loosely call a childhood. I already had a need for something, and that was musically what really helped me. In some ways, it probably hindered or hurt me, because you can get too obsessed with and you know, with, you know, it feels good to let that stuff go sometimes, you know, to scream out loud or headbang or run around on the sports field or whatever, just being a bit crazy, and you can have too much of something. Not, I won't say a good thing, but because that's subjective, but it took me a while to relax and enjoy other things. The other, actually, what went hand in hand with that, and this might be a bit of a chuckle, was getting some exposure to classical music, which, funnily enough, Metallica, before the unfortunate passing of Cliff Burton, he was classically trained in music. Yes. Yeah. And so you can hear the differences between some of their earlier stuff musically, and that's not to, you know, not it's not a critical review podcast, I'm just saying, but you can hear the difference. I was exposed to Beethoven, and in particular, and you know, the classical things of Vivaldi's and Mozart's and whatnots, and dozens of others I couldn't remember the name of because I'm not very cultured or whatever, but that I think the two things there are probably alternating between listening to "And Justice for All" too much, and then listening to like Beethoven too much as the counterfoil. Very interesting for me. So that's one. And then I've got two others. One is just very tied to emotional highs, and it's funny because you can't, you know, people might laugh, or I know this song was one of those songs that was massively overplayed, but when it came out, or particularly at concerts, live performances, that kind of thing, but a period of my life where I went through some exceptional emotional highs, and had those moments of feeling like, you know, the world was my oyster or whatever, and I could do anything, was the song "Babylon" by David Gray. Ooh. Because musically, you know, solid enough or whatever, but lyrically, it really, those lyrics kind of spoke to me, because my life at that point was a whirlwind. Yeah. I could do anything. Everything went like, work was phenomenal. Things were falling into place, and then I met a girl that I absolutely fell head over heels for, and we both, you know, we connected, and it worked at that time, and so everything was just. But that song in particular was there, and there was a live concert or something live on the TV, and I remember having a phone call with that girl, basically like asking her out, you know, where you're like super nervous and like, hey, would you ever want to go and like, you know, meet up and maybe go and have a drink later together or something like that? And it was like a Saturday, like 3:00 in the afternoon. Just funny how things sit in your mind. I can picture exactly where I was and the whole circumstance, and she said yes. So I was like on that high of like everything's going well anyway. I was physically fit. Everything was just in order, you know.
Yep.
And then I got that kind of, and yet none of that mattered, because in that moment it was like, this is either going to make me or break me.
Yep.
You know, you have that feeling, and everything went my way that day. So that one has a very special place in my heart and soul, because it's sometimes difficult, because you look back on sometimes on these things later in life, you know, that's decades ago, and it's like you had kind of that feeling of like, not everything in the sense of, you know, relatively, but from going through my life and everything, where I'd sort of come from nothing and gone through mental abuse and challenges more than physical, little bit of that, but not, you know, not to the extent that some people sadly go through. But mental abuse is also pretty damn nasty too, and sticks with you, funnily enough. And then suddenly I guess it was like the metamorphosis, you know, from the beaten, downtrodden caterpillar into like, I can actually achieve anything if I really try. Yeah. So that song is very magical for me on that particular level. And now lots of people will be going, I can't believe you like that song. Well, they played that song too much on the radio and all the rest of it, but that's fine. And the other stupid, I'll keep this one short, but there's a silly song, or it might even be a cover of it or whatever. But there was this silly like dance song called Now You're Gone. You know, the one like, now you're gone, and it's kind of sad, like somebody missing someone, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yep.
But the reason I like that is not really because of the music or the lyrics or anything, you know, it's all silliness. In fact, I think of it as a very upbeat and positive memory, or it is for me, because it was me, a partner of mine, she and I were stuck in a car trying to get somewhere, and there was one of those just calamitous, like whatever, 20-kilometer, 30-kilometer tailback, something awful had happened somewhere else, you know, everyone was just stuck.
Yeah. And
it was too hot, and everybody's ACs were failing and all this kind of thing. And then that just came on the radio or something, and we had a good sound system in the car, turned it up and opened all the windows and whatever, right? And then it just turned into a big party on the motorway, because everyone was just like, oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So we were like hanging out of the what do you call it, the I can't remember the English word for it right now, the hole in the roof. Anyway, so we like the sun sunroof, that's it. It's just my brain wouldn't give me that word. So we like, she's hanging out of that and like waving arms, and we're all like, and everyone's going, and sometimes the lane to your left's moving a bit, and sometimes the lane to the right's moving. You know that kind of chock-a-block kind of, they start to clear the roads, and people going past like waving and giving the thumbs up and just like raving, like we were having like a little live concert with people randomly. And it gives you that renewed like good feeling that you can connect with people. And I can't remember where we were. I don't know if we were in Spain or France. Anyway, wherever it doesn't matter. But the point was, it was like you didn't have languages. You didn't have normal like conversations with people. Everyone's in their car doing their own thing. Everyone's, you know, irritated. It's hot, and you know, nothing's working. The road's broken. Everyone's stuck. Everyone needs to get to the gas station or whatever. And then it was just like, oh, this song, this will work. Bang, sound up, go. And you could see everyone go from like miserable, ruined day, holidays ruined, whatever, to like, we were in a free concert. Let's go. So I love that song, has a special place in my heart for that. So that was a magical moment in life.
Here's a bit of an anecdote there for you. So the original is in Swedish.
Okay.
By Base Hunter. And the original is about a bot in an IRC server. And the bot is called Anna.
Okay.
And so he sings Jag känner en båt, hon heter Anna heter hon. So, and which in my mind, because I wasn't thinking in Swedish at that moment, in Norwegian that sounds like I know a boat, the boat's called Anna, Anna is her name. I'm like, why is Anna? Why? This is a weird song, freaking Swede.
And I miss you now because you sang. Yeah.
So it's, but no, the original lyrics are talking about how this bot is able to ban people, and because it came out around the same time where he had the Dota song. It's for those of you who know, you know, and you now have regressed back into teenhood or childhood or whatever. But you're right there with me, and you're just as cringed by this Swedish PewDiePie lookalike person. It's hard to explain, okay? But fact is, yes, that is definitely one of those songs where, you know what, it's one of those fuck it, blast it kind of moments.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I would do the same thing.
So there you go. So people can have some fun with that when they hear this back.
I did remember another album. Like, because you mentioned an album, and I was like, yeah, okay, album is also something that you can tie to something, and it's very simple. Whenever I hear The Killers with the album where Mr. Brightside and such is on, I think it's called Hot Fuzz, I'm not sure. I'm right there back on a couch together with 4 friends playing Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2000 and can't quite remember, on the PlayStation, and making stupid looking characters and trying to progress, and it was amazing because that just went on in the background. That album of The Killers is just on in the background. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, yeah, no, that was the community contributions. Good questions and comments there, Mr. Ratty. I want to apologize to the rest of the community for not being pinged, but I've been operating on full smoothness of brain lately, so there's that. But we're gonna round off here, I think, and as per usual, we're gonna round off with something to smile about. Where there's one person that is very centric to our smiles lately, and he fully deserves it. And one of the ways he has shown his deservance of it is by becoming partner, and we're talking about Hula. Texas Hula made partner, and he's just been very quiet and still about it, and not really yelled it from the mountaintops. But I'm like, there are very few other people that I feel deserve the partner mark more than he, because the way he provides entertainment and everything is just chill and cool, and just such a great guy. Such a great guy, straight up. You know, that's how simple it is. So congratulations, Texas Hula, on becoming partner, and the others becoming partner. Yeah, about you tell us about that.
Really nice segue there. Beautifully done. Yeah, well, again, congratulations to Hula. I don't need to say a load of good things about him because he already knows I love him to bits, and you know, the community knows how much I appreciate and respect the man. So he did something else magical. He live streamed on his Twitch channel in special events, which I thought is also a nice little, it's just a beautiful little thing. He live streamed the wedding ceremony and a bit of a preamble beforehand of White Wolf and Purple Daisy, or Purple Wolf and White Daisy, as they might be known. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that argument, but I've started it now, or I can perpetuate it. And it was awesome. It was so cool to see technology, you know, having dealt with technology and fought with it my whole adult life, well, really my whole life. It was wonderful to see technology being put to such a use and being so beneficial in allowing not only family and friends of the couple who weren't able to attend the event for whatever reason, probably travel, cost, etc., to be there and be part of the chat and witness the whole event. But they had all the mics working and they mic'd up the service, the lady conducting the service and all that kind of thing. So you got the whole ceremony down pat, but he literally meant that the as I called it here for the section, wedding bells heard around the world, because literally you had people from all over the world. I mean, I'm sitting here in a bunker in Germany, and I was able to be there, and there was all sorts of people that I recognized and dozens and beyond. And I think it was 100 or more people extra that were able to effectively attend that wedding. Through using the service, and everybody was in good order. Lots of confetti and crying going on in the chat, and all, in a positive way, and just magic. I want to, and of course then in addition they get to keep the VOD, to have that to look back to. And I know, having a wedding video and all that's not exactly new. That's, people were doing that in the 50s, 60s and beyond, but it's just nice to have that. But you can also record it in OBS, the VOD replay, and get all the chat to go as well, so you can see all the people that were there and the comments they made and relive that for posterity. Share it with the kids and the grandkids and all that kind of stuff. Just magical moment. And it's those things where I recognize and realize, and I try to be aware and be in the moment, where such a unique moment in my little pittance of an existence here, just to be part of that was just a feeling of magic. And I'm so grateful that people made that, put that together and made that possible. And I want to, just before I forget and ramble any further, I want to give a special shout out to Jacques, who's one of Hula's mods, who was there in person running a lot of the tech, keeping the stream going. And he did a really cool thing where he, beyond the tech support and everything, he was, helping Hula with like running the thing, because a lot of distractions going on for everybody. But he also had a thing that they'd done in advance where he had a whole spreadsheet, like bloody nerd, full of like Q&A stuff from Purple and White Wolf, where they'd been asked questions like, who's the better driver, who would deal with a certain circumstance better than the other, or what does White Wolf like to rant about when he's tired of a day or whatever, and then they were using the Twitch polls and doing like live polls in the chat all the time for a few minutes at a time, and letting everybody have their voting and stuff, as well as their cheeky tongue-in-cheek answers in the chat as well. So everybody would have to guess answers to all these questions, and then they would reference the sheet of who gave which answer and everything. And it was just, but all done in a really fun, light-hearted. And then Jacques was throwing in like random third answers and all that, like, who's the better driver, Purple or White Wolf? And then the third option was like, they both should take a taxi, or what, whatever it was at the time. So I've seen them, and both of them should be in, in a carriage or whatever. And it was just really, really well done. So shout out to my brother from a Texan mother, Hula, for putting that all together, and all the stress and strain you put yourself to make something like that happen, because that's nerve-wracking as all heck, right? Shout out to the hotel for allowing it and making it possible, and for the wedding service people for allowing it and allowing to be mic'd up and do the ceremony on a live stream as well, and to Jacques for all the stuff I've just mentioned. Good job. And of course to all the chat and the people that turned up. I really appreciate everyone being on good behavior and just making it even more magical than it already was. So yeah, good stuff.
Indeed. Wonderful. What a better way of ending this podcast, huh? I don't think there's a better way we could end this podcast, except say thank you to all of the people out there who enable us to have this podcast, and so that we can share all these stories of joy and also our grievances with ads and such with you from time to time. Any closing wisdom words, Grumbles?
Not really. Just be good to yourselves, be good to others, give people thumbs up, sharing the good vibes, and I'm going to go and put Space Hunter on really loud now. So if you live near me, you'll probably be hearing some Now You're Gone.
And without further ado, it's going to be goodbye from me and goodbye from Grumbles. And now you're
Bye.
gone. Bye.
Ah.